Hey, thank you so much for joining. This is Sage from Sage Knows IT, coming at you guys with another user requested video here. So last week, most of us were getting some announcements about our children being able to go back to school and what exactly that looked like. And many of you were wanting to know, what are the best laptops that we can buy for our children. So I thought I'd go ahead and I wrote up a story at our blog, www.sageknowsit.com. So please sure to check that out. But I thought I'd give you like a little bit of a demonstration on how exactly I do it. So let's get into that. I mean, like I said, school's right around the corner. It's less than a month away from most of us if you haven't been in school. And we don't know exactly how that's going to look like. For many of us, it's going to be somewhat of a hybrid model, where others it's going to be virtual classes throughout the end of the year. So that means that we need to start stocking up on mobile devices if our schools are not going to provide that. So whether you're in the market for a desktop or laptop or a tablet, I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you the things that I would be looking for when purchasing that. A lot of times when we are shopping for computers, we kind of get into the mindset of, which brand is better, Apple versus Windows, and Intel versus AMD. And what I say is the very first thing, don't worry about price, and don't worry about the brands. Price is a factor, of course, but it's more important about what's inside the machine than what the price actually dictates. A lot of times, a lot of the computers can come to where you can customize it for cheaper than what you would be charged if it was just kind of all inclusive kind of thing. But we're gonna get into that. And then as far as price should be more of like a filter, in my opinion, than it is an actual like top of mind kind of thing. Yes, you have your budget, but if you can figure out the certain components that you actually need for the computer and filter by that, a lot of times you can get better deals than if you just shop solely on price. So that's what I really want to go over with you. So the first question becomes whether or not you want a laptop environment or a desktop environment. And laptops, I'm going to go ahead and include tablets in this conversation as well. So laptops in general, they're great for mobility, especially for kids that like to travel around or need some privacy when they're working, or maybe they have like a teleconference meeting that they have with their teacher and their fellow students. Probably want to be able to move to another part of the house so that they can conduct that. So laptops gives them that freedom, that flexibility to be able to do it. Tablets are also a good option in that aspect of it, but I probably would not recommend tablets beyond maybe the second grade level, because once you get into that, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get work done. You're going to have to start thinking about accessories like mouses, keyboards, and also, if the laptop supports it, an ability to use some type of extensions for monitors and things like that. And that becomes a little bit more cumbersome with a tablet than if you had it on a laptop itself. You can get a fairly good laptop, at your local retailers like Walmart or Amazon, anywhere between $200 to $500. It really, that particular type price range can address most concerns that are not concerns, but most households, that have like maybe 4 or less users to that one computer itself. Desktops. Now desktops are also a good option as well, and I absolutely love desktops just because of the full flexibility and customization that you can have that you don't necessarily have on laptop devices. So these are, I like to consider these like workhorse systems. Like desktops are considered to be workhorse. So if you have to download a lot of applications, you or do some type of processing, like maybe some artwork or things like that, desktops are a little bit better in those aspects of it because of the hardware components that are in there. The processor speeds that are typically there are better than laptops. So desktops might also be your type of, it may be an option for you. I would probably say that if I was to pick a grade level that would absolutely need desktops going forward, I would say that if you're like in the seventh to 12th grade area, desktops are probably a more viable option versus the under seventh grade area, just because they do a lot more reports, paperwork, a lot more designs, and it's just a little bit more flexible, or not flexible, but it's a little bit more, or it's less taxing on the system on a desktop than a laptop doing those things. But those are usually going to be your two computing environments that you're going to use, laptops or desktops. And with most schools using some type of Google platform or Google Classroom kind of thing, a lot of times all you really need is just a browser. So that also helps when you're scoping your specs, like the specifications for your hardware, because you don't necessarily need that much if most of the environment's going to be on the cloud. So that's a good thing. So my first rule, again, just to kind of recap, don't worry about price. Make it like your last thing. Don't worry about the brands. Most people get burned by picking a side, and to be honest, as parents, it's probably not something that we should even be involved in. That's probably something that we used to do like in our early or mid 20s. Shouldn't be doing it as parents now. We got to do something that's more economical and feasible for our children. The second rule that I have is that specs rules all. Remember that, specs rules all. And what I mean by that is the only thing that truly matters is what is inside that computing device itself. And I think for me, I focus on three specific areas. The very first one is the hard drive, and not so much the space, but the type of hard drive there are. Now, the hard drives are storage devices. They're meant to save documents so that when you turn off your computer, you turn it back on, you're able to retrieve that document itself. So there's two types of hard drives that are standard in the market. You have your traditional HDD drive, or yes, HDD drives, your hard disk drives, and these kind of resemble, kind of look like this, right? And they're like computers, or not computers, but they look like little CD discs or DVD discs that are written on there. Now these are highly volatile, and what I mean by that is they're very sensitive to impact. So if they fall, or if there's a power outage in the middle of it writing, there's a strong chance that it may be damaged in those processes. They're often cheaper than their counterparts, which we're going to describe next to you. But these are options that are available to you, the hard disk drive. And I'm going to actually show you real quick here. You see my screen there. So this is kind of what you'll see like on an Amazon thing here. Like this is what the hard drives look like. The other one is going to be the solid state drives. This right here. I don't actually have one that I can show you. Actually, I take that back. I do have one I can show you. So this is kind of like a solid state drive here. And it's smaller in size. It doesn't use those platters or CD discs that you saw in the previous example there, and they're faster. I mean, that the main thing is that they're faster. Like from a performance standpoint, this is probably the best investment I've ever made when I upgrade computers or upgrade my own computers, is doing a solid state drive. And in comparison to where they were like 3 or 4 years ago, they are vastly cheaper and very comparable in price to their counterparts, the hard disk drives. So I would recommend that you find a system that has a solid state drive in it, because that's going to provide you with the best performance overall, and you will see the difference. Like I was working on a computer a couple of weeks ago for a client, and I replaced their hard drive from a hard disk drive over to a solid state drive. their hard disk drive took almost 2 or 3 minutes to boot up from startup to the Windows prompt. Whereas when I installed this solid state drive, I was in Windows less than 20 seconds. I mean, that's the kind of performance metrics that you get when you do that. So definitely highly recommend a solid state drive in this instance here. Now the next one I have is RAM. Now RAM stands for random access memory, and think of this as a lot of times people get RAM and hard drives mixed up. So RAM is going to be it's the component that's used when an application is opened. So once you open it up, it uses this RAM, like this type of memory, to run the processes in the application. It stores it there temporarily itself. So this also helps in the speed of the applications that you open up. So your browsers use RAM, right? Windows or Microsoft Word uses RAM. All that uses RAM. And sometimes, like if you use too much and you don't have enough capacity inside your RAM sticks, then that's when you start getting the slowdown and the sluggishness and things of that nature. So most modern computers now, they use at least 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is good. What I would recommend that you do is stay within 4 to 8 for this type of project for kids. Just 4 to 8 gigabytes are ideal. If you can find a computer that has 4 gigabytes of RAM but is able or capable to doing 8 or 16, then that's great, because that gives you an opportunity to upgrade your system in the future for that. So you'll find that in the spec sheet, and I'll show you guys where exactly you can find that as well. And then the last thing that I like to focus on is just the Wi-Fi capabilities. So most modern computers should have a wireless interface card on there. It's essential. Laptops mostly always come with them. Some desktops, unless you customize them, will have an internal one in there, but you want to make sure that you have that, especially if you don't have access to a wired connection to wherever you're going to put your computer. That will also offer you some flexibility as well. So again, think about that. When you're looking for your computer and you're hunting, 3 components that you should just be looking for is the hard drive, preferably the SSD drive, solid state drive, RAM, which is between 4 and 8 gigabytes of RAM is ideal. Anything that's higher than 16 is considered to be overkill in my opinion. So you can even say instead of 8, 16, so 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, but anything that's higher than that, it's overkill for most situations or for most households. And then making sure that you have Wi-Fi capability. So once you have all of those 3 components in mind, then you can start worrying about price, right? You can start comparing them down and seeing which one which one has what, and then kind of shop from there. So I thought that at this point we would do a little demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Amazon.com here, and all right, so we're looking at laptops right now. So let's just say that, like for me, I'm trying to look for a computer that has my target that I'm looking for is a computer that has maybe 8 gigabytes of RAM, about 256 in hard drive space, and then has the option for Wi-Fi. So we're just going to look just solely at laptops at this particular example here. So what I'm going to do is the very first thing I like to do is when I get onto this here is I like to use the filters that are on the left hand side here. So as you can see, you have your brands, which again, rule number 1, don't pick a brand. Just trust me, just don't pick a brand. Number 2, you have your or they have the computer RAM capacity. So this is one of the filters that we talked about, right? We wanted to have one that has anywhere from 4, we're going to use 16 as the benchmark, 4 to 16 gigabytes of RAM is what we're going to look at. Don't worry about the graphics processor. For us, we won't really need to worry about that for what we do. So processor types doesn't really matter there, and weight doesn't matter there. So it doesn't look like we have SSD enabled or SSD as an option here, but that's okay. So let's just start filtering based off of the stuff that we do know. So again, we want anywhere from 4 And it looks like Amazon's going to refresh every single time I press this one here. So 4, 8, 12, and 16. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at some of the options that we have here. So I try to stay away from all these sponsored posts. I just do. And I kind of look at the rest of the stuff that I have here. So the very first one is an Acer Slim. Looks like the screen size is 15.6. Not something I'm worried about. Ryzen 3 is pretty good. Right now I think they're at 7. So for a laptop, that's pretty decent. There. Say we got 4 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes solid state drive. So there's a solid state drive, but it's only 128 gigabytes. So it's a little bit lower than what we're trying to find. Trying to find something that's 256. So this one's probably not going to be the best option there. And then they have Windows and Windows 10 and S mode. So S I think is secure mode. I'd recommend that you guys try to find a home version of Windows and not S mode. The home vision or the S mode will only allow you to download applications, as I believe this is to be true. They only offer, you can only download applications that are available in the Windows Store. So if you have to download applications off of the internet, there may be some complications with doing that. So try not to use S mode if you can avoid it. All right, so that one's not going to be a good option here. So here we got one right here, an Asus VivoBook. Automatically I see that it has S mode, so I'm just going to see if I can find something better. It is attractive because it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, but again 128 gigabytes of solid state drive. We're looking for something that's a little bit more, a little bit more. So then we have one here. Let's see, it's a 10th generation so we don't have to worry about that. 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes solid state drive, Windows Home. So this is going to be one here that we would want to look at a little bit further. So let's just see if we can find a couple more. Price point here is $579. We may be able to find one that's a little bit cheaper than this one here. So let's see. This one is secure mode, so probably one, and 64 gigabytes of RAM. So that's not something that we would want. It's a sponsored post there. This is a gaming laptop. We really don't need gaming laptops. It's not like we can find better options without that, so that's not going to be a good one there. Okay, here we got one here. So it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes solid state drive, and then it also has Wi-Fi included. Windows Home 10. So this looks like a good option. 464 is another one that we have here. So let's see if I can find one more. It's 128 gigabytes of RAM there. Here we go. So we got 8 gigabytes of RAM. That's DDR4. That's RAM. And then 256 gigabytes of solid state drive. So this one's a good one, 465. So I wish I could select both of those, but it doesn't look like I can. Let me see if which one that one was. It was S mode. All right, so that other one was a little bit more expensive. So remember how I said, we filter by price. That's the last thing that we look at. So we're gonna go with this one here, and let's just take a look at some of the specs. So once you're in here, and it doesn't matter if it's Amazon or if it's anywhere else, but most of them have the same thing. So once you get into the actual computer itself, you'll be able to scroll down just a little bit to see here, and this kind of gives you like the side-by-side specs to other ones that are in their area. So this is the very first column, is the one that we are looking at right now, and then these are the 3 comparable ones here. So just kind of off the board, it looks like we have a couple of them that have more RAM and are cheaper than this option that we have here. So we have 4 gigabytes here, 8 gigabytes here, and 8 gigabytes here. This one here looks really attractive. It's only $392. But let's look at some of the other specs that we're looking at here. So let's see. Hard drive space. So 256, So automatically we know that this one's cheaper because the hard drive space is not as much. So I'm gonna probably take this one off, and also it looks like it's in S mode, which is, again, that's one thing we're trying to stay away from. We don't want that S mode. And it looks like the other ones are in S mode as well. So that, to me, that would be a disqualifier. But aside from that, look, we got wireless communication. This is the Wi-Fi, and it looks like every single one of them has Wi-Fi enabled on them. So these are all good options that are available. But as you can see, we can kind of drill things down a bit. So overall, this probably 465 is our best option out of the specifications that we were looking for. Now you could go with the cheaper option here with the 349 with 128 gigabytes, and you could probably find a solid state drive for about $60 or $70, which would still put you underneath this cap of 465, and just have someone clone that hard drive to this one here, and then you would be able to do that. I mean, that's also an option that you can do, but again, that secure mode for me, that kills it. So I would probably go with this 465 option. So that's exactly how I would shop for a computer for my children. And again, you saw that our pricing was at the very end, because when you think of the pricing piece at the very end, the great thing about that is that you can find out the reason why it's cheaper versus another counterpart that you're looking at. So, use that as you will. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to put them here in the chat of this video, or the comment section of this video. I'll also have some links down below to where you can shop on Amazon with using our affiliate link. Doesn't change the pricing or anything like that, just helps the show here. And also, if you can go to our website, www.sageknowsit.com. Again, www.sageknowsit.com. We've got a lot of great information available to you. If you're a small business owner, we have a data breach guide checklist that you can use for your own business, completely free to download there. If you're an aspiring technologist, we also have some great material on there as well to help break into the field, the IT field. So thank you so much for joining. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Till the next time, I'll take care.